Hi, Todd VanDenburg here with VanDenburg Capital Management and another Uncommon Sense update. So unless you've been living under a rock for the last couple of weeks, you saw the Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ all suffered some pretty substantial losses last week, over 5%. It was not a good week, but as I've talked about in the past, the volatility that we lacked last year, we are making up for it in spades in 2018, with February being really volatile and March closing out sort of in the same vein. Now, what accelerated much of these losses in the last couple of days of last week, it had to do with President Trump announcing sort of more firm information about the tariffs that are going to be applied to various countries, specifically China. And what President Trump said towards the end of the week is that he was looking to basically cut the trade deficit with China by $100 billion a year. And when you look at how much we have a trade imbalance with China, it's really amazing. And $100 billion would still leave us with a $400 billion trade imbalance with China. So it would still leave us buying way more of their stuff than they buy of ours. But we've got to start somewhere, and that's really what was going on last week. Is there was a lot of fear selling on concerns that we'd be involved in a global trade war. But what we heard this week, and this is the reason I'm actually not releasing this video until the close of the markets on Monday, is what we saw is China's announcing, as a result of these new trade policies and new tariff policies, that China is going to attempt to open its markets to more U.S. companies. And so that's really what's going on here. For decades, many of these countries have tariffed our goods so that when we try to sell them in their countries, they're more expensive than the products that they make locally. And for the most part, when countries try to put their products on our soil, we don't really tariff them. We let them sell their products on our soil pretty freely. So this really is a case of they've had it really good for a long time, and now we're starting to try to change that dynamic and try to get some of this trade imbalance back on our side. Because this trade imbalance has a really substantial impact on our gross domestic product. And if we are able to pull $100 billion a year out of our trade imbalance and add that into our gross domestic product, that can add 2 to 0.3% to the GDP. And that's all good for the country. So as we see today's volatility, where the Dow rose 669 points, let's not get too excited about that. That's just the market recorrecting from an over sell-off at the end of last week. And we should see additional volatility, both to the upside and the downside, in the coming weeks and months, as people sort of get used to the idea that as a country, we are changing the rules of the road, whether it's renegotiating NAFTA or the Trans-Pacific Partnership or these new tariffs that we're going to try to use to get China to come to the table and give us a better deal. We just should expect that we're going to see volatility every time a new trade news is released. It's not the end of the world. These countries rely on us to buy their goods, so they're not going to cut their nose off to spite their face. So patience is what we need to be showing here. But should something change, we'll absolutely let you know. This stuff is really dynamic, and that's why we follow it so closely. And of course, we think you should too. So that was your moment. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give us a like, give us a share, and we'll be back soon with another Uncommon Sense update. Thanks for watching.